Hello guys, welcome back to chapter 15. I don't have anything this time. Just enjoy the chapter, I guess. Mastermind Rise of Anarchy. Written by Clouds. My head in the clouds, not coming down. Read by Reem MHA. Chapter 15. Feather. Summary. Tokoyami gets a treat. The Pussycats get a surprise. Mortimer frowned as he looked at the menu. An apple pie single scoop and sugar cone for here. Rainbow sherbet for me and Tokoyami. I'm assuming you want something as black as your soul. Dark chocolate cherry will be fine. Fumikage nodded, his feathers ruffling slightly in embarrassment. Thank you. Monoma paid for the ice cream, and a few minutes later they were sitting outside the patio of the shop, licking their cones as they melted in their hands. Fume casually would occasionally pick one of the cherries out of his ice cream and feed it to Dark Shadow, who gobbled them up appreciatively. Aerie shyly held her cone down to him. I can cheer too. Oh, I'm sorry, Monoma said. I should have thought. Dark Shadow laughed and nudged Aerie as he shook his head. Nah, don't worry about it. I like eating occasionally, but too much physical food is no good for us. I get most of my energy from Tokoyami anyways. Dark Shadow does not have a body of its own, Tokoyami explained tiredly. He's an entity of mist and darkness, so rather than slowly converting into an unstable form, any food he eats is instantly evaporized into energy. Let's say we found that the hard way one Easter, Dark Shadow cracked. How long did those jelly beans keep you awake, Fumikage? Tokoyami's feathers puffed up again. 3 days, I think. It was a mad banquet of darkness. Oof, talk about a sugar rush, Monoma joked. I bet your parents were really thrilled about that one. They were. Fumikage grimaced, less than enthusiastic. Monoma laughed, but Aerie frowned at her cone. Did you have nice parents or mean ones? Fumikage found himself taken back. This was such a normal moment, just going out for ice cream, that he'd forgotten that she was raised by an abusive villain, if he could even call what that bastard did raising her. She probably didn't even know how parents were supposed to act. He and Dark Shadow shared a panicked moment through their link, wondering how they should respond before speaking up to Aerie again. Because kids can have both, I think. Aerie frowned and took another small lick of her ice cream. Papa Zawa is nice, but Overhaul was really mean. Grandpa was nice too, I think. But Entangled, Mother Gothel acted nice, but was actually mean. So maybe it's hard to tell sometimes. Aerie shrugged and went back to focusing on her ice cream as Fumikage stared at her with wide eyes, and was aware of Monoma doing the same beside him. Of all the responses he could have expected, one with level of maturity was not one of them. Maybe he had underestimated of how good Aizawa was at parenting, or maybe Aerie had just been forced to grow up too fast. After a long moment of silence, Fumikage cleared his throat. They were nice ones. Aerie nodded. Good. Mean parents shouldn't have kids. Monoma nodded in agreement. Yeah, no kid deserves mean parents. It's sad that some parents are mean anyways. Aerie turned to look at him. Are your parents mean? They might have been nice if they had another son, Monoma smiled sadly. But that's okay. My grandfather made sure they didn't hurt me. So your grandpa was nice? Aerie asked. Fumikage watched curiously as Monoma frowned. I can't really say he was nice because everyone else, but he's really mean. But to me, he was nice. Eri frowned, and Fumikage could tell that she was just as confused as he and Dark Shadow were. She looked like she was about to drop the issue, but after Monoma gave her an encouraging nod, she spoke up again. How does that work? How can somebody be nice and mean at the same time? Or does that mean they're lying? Monoma shrugged. I think it's a little bit of both. Endeavor pretended to be a nice person, but here is mean to Dobby and Freezerburn. But your grandpa was nice, right, Eri? Eri nodded, and Monoma smiled. But your grandpa worked for the head of the Yakuza, so he had to be mean at work. Oh. Eri thought about that for a moment, her ice cream melting down her hand. Yeah, I never saw him to be mean though. He wasn't mean to me like Overhaul was. Monoma nodded. Yeah, sometimes even mean people aren't nice to people they care about. That doesn't make them nice people. Like Mastermind isn't a nice person. He'll hurt a lot of people, but he probably won't hurt Freezerburn because he cares about him. Does that make sense? Fumikage nodded. So your grandpa was nice to you, but not other people's. That sounds like a mad banquet of darkness. Monoma shrugged. A little, I guess. But it's not like either Eri or I chose to have villain grandparents. And at least my grandfather kept my parents from hurting me or abandoning me because of my quirk. So there's that. Eri's eyes were wide. You had villain grandpa too? Yeah, I did. Monoma smiled and ruffled her hair. Actually, I still do. He's just in prison for now, so I haven't seen him for a while. Oh. Oh. Fumikage flundered uselessly. I'm sorry. That's life. Monoma shrugged and finished off the last of his ice cream cone. Everybody ready? We don't want to be late. Fumikage and Eri immediately hurried to attack their ice cream cones, but Fumikage didn't really taste it. He couldn't imagine what being raised by a villain was, but the way Monoma saw the world was a thought-provoking. He didn't see anything inherently bad in the shadows, and still managed to acknowledge the light in the world without glorifying it. It was a breath of fresh air in the stale environment the Hero Commission had created, and it felt terrifying and exhilarating at the same time that Flying Fox had felt for the first time. If there was anything he'd learned from his internship, it was that birds were meant to fly. Pixie Bob was nervous as the four of them made their way back to the location on the map. It wasn't odd to be an outside observer, but then again, an outside observer wouldn't know what they were going to find. Well, considering that they didn't know what they were going to find either, maybe that wasn't the best argument. But at least they knew to expect something. Well, not quite heroic. They had decided against wearing their hero gear, since seeing the Pussycats in full costume would undoubtedly draw more attention than they wanted, especially these days. But all they had were a few support items at the ready and were prepared to activate the quirks at moment's notice. Well, those who still had them. So maybe it wasn't the best argument either. But anyways, that's what they were going to do, and that was that. Pixie Bob looked at her teammates. They had all been through so much the past year, with Mandalay losing her nephew and Ragdoll losing a quirk. The more she thought about it, the more she realized that this, whatever this was, probably had been building up for longer than any of them cared to admit. Sure, a lot of bad things had happened in the past years, but Mastermind's reign of terror had also exposed a lot of lies that the hero system was built onto. Lies that they had built their entire careers and livelihoods on. Having their foundation torn from underneath them like a flimsy tablecloth was devastating, and they were still teetering, trying to keep balance despite everything, but it was hard. They weren't getting any younger. They had been heroes for how long? 12 years now? And to have that exposed as a lie, well, Pixie Bob knew she wasn't the only one who felt robbed. She may not have lost things, not in the same way that Mandalay and Pixie Bob at the least, but the note hadn't been lying when it said that the best years of their life had been stolen from her. She'd given her youth to being a hero, and now she had a giant scar on her face. She'd been giving beauty to it as well. She'd figured that she was justified in being a little pissed. Ragdoll looked at the map again, then at the building in front of them. Really? An abandoned building? Are these guys walking cliché? They probably wanted a neutral location with the minimum chances of being observed, Tiger pointed out, since we're heroes and they're... He let the idea hang in the open before Pixie Bob piped up with a false cheerfulness. Well, last chance to turn back. Mandalay's face was hard with determination, and the anger she was trying to hide with it. No, we've come this far. We might as well go forward. They all nodded and made their way into the building. They split up, making sure each room was clear of enemies before regrouping on the roof. They looked at each other awkwardly before Tiger took out the glow stick and hid it alongside the map. Well, this is it. No turning back. Ragdoll took a shaky breath. No turning back. I'm game if you all are. Pixie Bob smiled. Mandalay gave a sharp nod. Let's do this. Tiger cracked the glow stick in half, and the light made its writing stand out ominously. The word promise represented, shining like a beacon as the chemicals slowly activated and the glow stick spread out, mostly. Pixie Bob grabbed the glow stick. There's something inside? Ragdoll took it from her. Yeah, there is. It's a feather, Mandalay finished. I think we know who's coming. A voice spoke up from behind them. Did you think I'd slow down because I don't have Hero Commission backing me anymore? The four of them whirled around immediately. Pixie Bob wished that she could say she was surprised when she saw Hawks perched on the edge of the roof. But honestly, that he was there, she didn't know what else she could have expected. Dobby leaning against the wall next to him, playing with a small flame that jumped between his fingers as he looked across them. And here I was, thinking you guys were too stupid to put it all together. Dobby smirked, letting the flames in his hand got brighter. I guess I'm glad I was wrong. You! Mandalay growled and instantly fell into an attack stance. Down, Katie. I'm not the one who killed your kid or whatever. Dobby rolled his eyes. Muscular went rogue. You can't blame us for that. You brought him, Tiger pointed out. And before you say anything, you didn't explicitly come to attack students. You explicitly came to attack students. We came to send a message to get my kid brother away from his abuser, Dobby replied coldly, clenching his fist to extinguish the flame in his hand. Or did you forget about that little detail? Hux ran to stand in front of Dobby and put out his hand to signal to them. Now, you can't really believe that the League would actually condone killing a kid like that. Look at what we did at Alexandria. Pixie Bob stayed in her fighting stance, but she didn't charge, neither did the others. Alright, so you spared the kids, but you're still a bunch of murderers. I'm proud of it, Dobby sneered. But you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. Well, you've certainly scrambled up society, Tiger growled. And if not for the better either. Debatable, Dobby shrugged. At least we're not glamorizing child soldiers anymore, Hux pointed out. You can't deny that the Hero Commission put more children in the line of fire than we ever have. Pixie Bob engaged an awkward glance at their teammates. Okay, so maybe he had a point. But there were still a lot of problems with this arrangement. You stole my quirk, Ragdoll said finally. Or Alpha One did. But you're the ones who kidnapped me. Alright, we'll own up to that one, Dobby smirked. That means we're in the perfect position to convince Sensei to give it right back. No harm, no foul. Of course, all this proposing isn't behind 15 layers of defense at the same time. Same with Muscular. If he's not trapped behind concrete walls, we don't want him back. Pixie Bob froze as she realized the implications. What? We're heroes. You can't really expect. Hawks shrugged and spread his wings. I was a hero too, but heroes don't really exist anymore. You couldn't even argue that they never really did. What with assholes like Endeavor running around and corrupting the title, what's a little jailbreak when society has broken every promise it made to us? Debbie grinned. So what do you say, Pussycats? You ready to go after everything you want? Ooh. We're finally caught up, so the next chapters are probably gonna be more choppy. If not, then I guess I'm just growing. But whatever, Pussycats turning villainy, or ooh, that sounds like fun. Also, oh my goodness, Gary is just she's too precious, y'all. Her and Dark Shadow. After reading that chapter, I looked at the fan art of like Gary penning Dark Shadow, and the little bit that there is, it is so cute, guys. Anyways, I'll probably have to draw that myself later. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. I know probably more than once my dog barked. If not, no. Hey, that's that. My dog does like to bark when I'm recording. We do have like other guests staying over right now, so that's probably it. But yeah, thanks again for listening. I will see you guys in chapter 16. Peace.